Hello, I'm Hope Cahan. Welcome to Democratic Television, a program of the Santa Clara County Democratic Party that brings insights, perspectives, and attitudes of our always thoughtful Democratic guests. Today we have with us Santa Clara County Supervisor Ken Yeager. Ken, thank you so much for coming today.
Well, thank you, Hope. It's a great time to be a Democrat. So
it certainly is.
I'm glad to be here.
It's great. Now, Ken, you are a sports enthusiast, an author, former professor at San Jose State, and you've been actively involved with your community for many, many years. What brought you into politics?
Well, sometimes, half-jokingly, I answer that question by saying it all started when I ran for 7th grade president, and that launched my political career, I guess. But I suppose the best way to answer it is that I've lived in San Jose all my adult life,
yes.
and I love my community, and it's given me so many opportunities. And I think why I enjoy working at the local level on democratic issues is because I want the same opportunity for other people that I had. It has allowed me to have a profession, to have friends, and to have a really high quality of life. And I think all of us, as we get older, have a responsibility of passing on those kind of attitudes and that kind of community to the next generation.
Oh, that's great. As a mom, I really appreciate that, passing it on to the next generation.
Absolutely.
Now, in 1992, you ran for the San Jose Evergreen School Board trustee.
Right.
And you ran as an openly gay man.
That's correct.
And at that time, there were no openly gay elected officials in Santa Clara County. So what was it that made you decide to run with that so prominently displayed?
Yeah, many people I think are surprised that it wasn't until I did win election to the community college board in 1992 that I was the first openly gay person ever elected. But we still, even today, 2009, there's only 3 of us that serve sort of at the municipal level. So it's still a barrier that is out there for that we have to overcome, so that anybody, regardless of their background, can run for public office. But I was very concerned about education as a professor at San Jose State, as you had mentioned. I was concerned about a lot of the transfer students that we were getting from the community colleges, and wanted to make sure that their level of education was suitable for when they got to a 4-year university, and felt that I could really contribute to those issues. But I also knew that no gay person had ever been elected here, and so I suppose I was interested in sort of breaking down that barrier, but also really being able to help our community and our students. So rather than just sort of wondering what it might be like, I decided to find out exactly what it would be like, and certainly had a lot of support from my fellow Democrats, which enabled me to win.
That's great. And then you went on to be San Jose City Council member for many years.
That's correct. Ran in 2000 and then was reelected in 2004, and then had the great fortune to being elected to the County Board of Supervisors. And
tell us a little bit about what you do as a supervisor.
Yeah, a lot of people know what their city council members do, but they're a little unclear about what a county supervisor does. And I remember, going door to door during the campaign, saying I was going to run for supervisor, and people would say, well, what is it that you're going to supervise? And you sort of laugh, and then you say, okay, well, we have to backtrack a little bit here. But counties are an extension of the state. The state doesn't really perform a lot of the functions that people think that state government does. It's actually the counties that do that. So a lot of the healthcare, criminal justice, social welfare issues dealing with kids and with seniors, any public documents like marriage licenses, voter registration, tax collection, all of that happens at the county level. So it certainly is a very important arm of state government, although again most people don't really understand the critical importance that the county faces and what the county works on.
You mentioned healthcare, which has been a big topic lately, both locally and nationally as well. Tell us a little bit about what the county has been doing, what strides you've really made with healthcare.
Yes, I think if people have an interaction with the county. It's it either A is going to be criminal justice, which hopefully isn't what happens to you as you go into a county jail or to one of our courtrooms.
Right.
But we have the Valley Medical Center, which is really a world-renowned county hospital, and we have a lot of medical clinics as well. So if somebody is sick or their child is sick and they don't have insurance, which of course is certainly the case in California and in the country, they need to, you know, have those medical services, and so they may well go into one of our clinics or into our hospital. And one of the reasons why the county has been pushing, you know, a national health care program so much is that by default it really is the county that sort of serves as that safety net, that medical net,
right,
rather than the state or the national government, whose responsibility it really is. And so because we have such a progressive thinking county here, where we really believe in health care, we believe anybody who's sick should get treated, we've put a lot of our dollars into health care. But it really is at a tremendous financial cost, and because of the recession, people losing jobs, it has cost us more and more. And so that's why the county's been so involved in the healthcare debate, because we really need some sort of relief.
And you mentioned the ever important issue with the finances. The recession is, if we're calling it a recession, has really devastated local communities and the state. And so what are you able to do, not only in healthcare, but in general at the county? What have you been able to do to really maximize our taxpayers' money?
Yeah, and it's a huge issue. You know, we provide so many important services that the one thing I don't want to do is just sort of cut them, because I realize the impact they'll have on people's lives. So I have really spent the last couple of years, you know, combing the budget, trying to find every dollar that we can save so we can put it into keeping the programs going.
Right.
I sort of, you know, make the association to a family that is doing well. They're getting, you know, they have the money to expand whatever they need, and so they don't really look at a lot of, you know, ways to sort of cut costs, but you know, should one of them lose their jobs or other expenses, then that's when a household looks at cutting back. Well, the county is sort of doing very much the same thing. I think for years we never really had to sort of pinch every penny, but now we do. And because we haven't done a lot of that sort of soul searching, I'm able to find a lot of places that we can save money. We have a tendency of, you know, buying new equipment on a regular basis. Well, maybe we don't need to do that as much anymore. We're cutting back on the number of automobiles that we're buying, cutting back on, you know, all the paper and the paper clips. We're not hiring new people. We're just sort of saving every place. So the county has actually been fortunate of not really having the wide-scale cuts in employees and services that we're finding in a lot of other jurisdictions.
I know that as a sports enthusiast, trails and our open space is really important to you. How has the county been able to work with the budget cuts and keeping our open space available for everyone within the county to use?
Yeah, you know, a lot of it just sort of goes back to the legacy that we have in Santa Clara County and the vision that the generations before us, you know, had, that we today are really being able to enjoy. And it goes sort of going back to what we're saying of creating a world for the next generation to inherit and making those right decisions. And in the decades past, people put ballot measures to raise funds for a lot of the programs that we're enjoying today.
Right.
And one of them certainly is with parks. So there is a separate parks fund that goes to purchasing and maintaining the incredible county parks that we have. And those funds keep those going. We are able to keep on expanding them. We have a tremendous trail system in place. But that's a separate fund that can only be used for parks activities. So that has been saved. We have just recently passed, you know, with the Valley Medical, a half-cent measure dealing with the hospital and with seismic improvements. And, so a lot of these things aren't being affected by the recession as we're finding in other places.
Can you tell me a little bit about the seismic improvements that they're doing?
Yes, because of state law that since Katrina, and I'm half joking here, they actually think that hospitals should be standing after an earthquake or a flood or something.
Sounds like a good idea.
It does sound like a good idea. And Valley Medical Center is an older hospital, and certainly needs to be seismic retrofitted. And so that's why I misspoke earlier. It's a bond measure that we had on the ballot that people passed, and so. We're using those dollars then to build a new hospital and to retrofit the existing one that is there to sort of meet state law. So again, just thinking ahead, wanting to have the hospital to be able to be standing in an emergency, and which is when you want it.
Right.
And the voters, I think, understood that, and certainly were willing to approve it. So it's very exciting that we have it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And then not only have you been working on trails and open space, but you're also working on air now. A year ago, our Republican governor appointed you, a Democrat, to the California Air Resources Board. Tell us a little bit about what's been going on there.
Yeah, as a lifelong Democrat and always supporting Democratic candidates, particularly for governor, it really was sort of odd that my life would intersect with a Republican governor.
I say that it's good. It's a great testament to how you've really been helping the community as a whole.
Well, thank you.
Not just, as a party, but as a whole.
Well, certainly democratic values to me, are community values. And if you're working to improve the community, in a way, it doesn't really matter if you're Democrat or Republican.
Right.
But I certainly believe that the Democrats spend more of their time and effort on community issues than, shall we say, people from other parties. But and I've been very involved in the environment. I serve on the Bay Area Air Quality Management District and the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and I think because of my knowledge and my involvement, that led the governor to appointing me. But when I think of the really big issues of our day, certainly the environment, climate change, and healthcare, that those are really two core values of the Democratic Party. But I believe, like all of us, that global warming is real. And that even if you don't buy the argument that the world is warming up and the rivers are rising, you've got to understand that the United States can't rely on foreign oil so much because of the dollars and the governments that get financed through our buying their oil. So for many reasons, we really have to work on the environment and certainly reduce our consumption of oil. And so the California Air Resources Board is very actively involved in those issues.
That's wonderful, and I'd like to hear a little bit more about it when we get back from our break in just a moment.
Great.
I'm Congresswoman Anna Eshoo, and I'm really pleased to say a few words to you today. One of the most often asked questions of me is, how did you get involved in this? It was 1960, I was a high school student, had to be 21 to vote, but you could organize. And so 783 students later, and many, many, many weeks of organizing, election night, I saw John F. Kennedy become President of the United States. Now, what's the relevancy today? You can do the same thing. Based on your passions, bring them to us, to the Democratic Party. If you care about the environment and preserving it, come to us, because we care about that. If you want quality education for all children, that's what we care about. If you want a health care system that delivers for everyone, come to us. Call area code 408-445-9500. You have a place for us, and together we can remake America into the kind of place that every citizen is proud of and deserving of.
Welcome back. I'm Hope Cahan, and we are here with Santa Clara County Supervisor Ken Yeager.
Great to be here, Hope.
Yeah, Ken, so you were telling us about your great work with the California Air Resource Board. And I'd like to touch a little bit about transportation, which of course causes some issues that we have with our air quality.
Right.
And also we, as a county, are going to grow significantly over the next 20 years. We have our baby boomers who are aging and are living longer. And because of the length that they're living longer, they're going to outgrow their ability to use cars. And then we also want to get people out of their cars in general. So tell me a little bit about your work with transportation and what you see in the county, our improvements that we have made and can make.
Well, going back to the Air Resources Board for just a moment, there's been several very important pieces of legislation that have been passed in California, AB 32 and SB 375, requiring the state to decrease the number of greenhouse gases that go into the air. And so, because a lot of that, those greenhouse gases are from cars, that the real focus is on trying to not only have the cars cleaner and the oil better, but to reduce the number of trips. And so that's sort of where, going to your question, housing and transit and land use planning come into play. That San Jose, which is going to continue to grow, has to do much better, as do all the communities in Santa Clara County. Building a little bit more dense, a little higher up, building close to major transit lines as a way to sort of encourage people to get out of their cars and to take public transportation. It's very exciting that BART will be coming down to Santa Clara County, in 3 or 4 years or so. That will certainly help a lot. But in California and Santa Clara County, we're sort of used to single-family homes, which were spread out. It creates a lot of traffic. And again, as you were saying about the baby boomers, I think as we begin to sell our homes and move into more urbanized downtown areas, that we have to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place that people can get around without using a car, which not only I think helps the mobility of those people, but overall helps the environment too.
How do we tie the suburbs with the city center to make them flow well, but also meet the demands that we have for transportation and housing?
Yeah, not particularly easy to do because a lot of these land use decisions were made decades ago, and we don't have those transportation lines sort of in place in the further areas of the county, the more suburban areas. The great thing about BART coming down and then really with Caltrain, we can sort of wrap around the bay, and that will certainly help. But for certainly people who are living in the outlying areas, we have to figure out a way that they can have access to those major lines. But I want to say this is all happening at a time when there's less money for transit and for affordable housing. The state has really taken all the money from redevelopment agencies, and they're the ones that basically fund affordable housing. They're trying to take all the money, the state gas tax, away from transit agencies. So everything's sort of colliding at the exact moment. Just when there's pressure to help the environment, to get people out of cars, the state is taking away all of our money to be able to have new sort of programs in place. So we'll sort of see how this all plays out, but I think the public needs to be aware of this and to be a little bit more involved. So
do we need more time because we have to wait for the whole state to pick up a little bit on the income level, or are there other avenues that we can take right now?
Well, again, it's hard, when you have the state dictating conflicting policies, and all of which the local communities, have to respond to. It just gets very difficult. They, on one hand, they say we want you to use, have more mass transit, more buses, more light rail. And the other hand, they're taking all the money away to do that. At a time when sales tax revenues are down that are generated at the local level to be able to fund this. And so I just, certainly need to get the federal government more involved in this, and maybe we can use more stimulus money. But again, I think it's just, I think the state needs to understand that they can't ask local communities to do both. And hopefully they'll decide to continue to fund transit and figure out some other way, although I'm not sure how, to take money from other programs to at least restore some of those cuts.
Part of the benefit of getting people out of their cars is making them a little more fit.
Yes.
And
yes.
so we've had some issues within our entire nation of obesity that has to do with not getting out and exercising, and also diet. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, you know, starting in January, I will be president of the County Board of Supervisors, which I'm looking forward to. And certainly one of the focus that I will have for my year is really working on public health issues, particularly issues dealing with obesity and physical fitness. It's just it's so unfortunate that, you know, the processed food industry, you know, has really just sold a bill of goods to families, to thinking that they can buy this processed food that is so high in fat, so high in sugar, and that there aren't any sort of consequences to it. And because of it, we are a nation that has become in many cases fat, and in many cases, you know, obese, and the healthcare consequences are enormous. And it's sort of like anything, and even sort of tie back to the environment if you wanted to. You know, you can go so long with overeating, not exercising, and the body is very resilient. It's incredible what the human body can take with the abuse. But at some point, you reach a tipping point, and all of a sudden you have lung cancer if you've been smoking, or you have diabetes if you're overweight, you have a stroke or heart attack if you haven't been exercising. All of those diseases are preventable. And so I think we just need to get the message out to families and to kids and adults that you have to take personal responsibility for your own health. You can't rely on government to pay those health costs when you have diabetes or a stroke. And think of, you know, that isn't the kind of life you want to lead when you're 80, 90. And so just to tell people to get more active, to watch what you eat, cut back on those food portions, and sort of tying it back to the environment. It's the same way. There's a tipping point where the environment can only take so many greenhouse gases. And so if you are, you know, walk, ride your bike, carpool, do every part you can, shut off the computer at night, don't use as much energy. And that way, you know, we can keep the planet healthy, and exercising, we can keep our own bodies healthy. And we all benefit from it, and we don't have to rely on government to take care of those issues, because government can't afford to anymore.
Right. Well, we're also very fortunate to live in a place where we have a lot of food grown locally.
Absolutely.
We have great farmers markets, and I hope that people are really taking advantage of that, and there'll be a push for that.
Yes, and I'm trying to, you know, encourage people to learn more about a sustainable community agriculture, and there's great resources out there where people can deliver at your home or nearby food that is grown locally.
Yeah, I do a food co-op.
Yeah. It's incredible, and there's a lot of places in our county where people don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables, and there's only the Burger Kings and the McDonald's, and it's just horrible. But hopefully we can get locally grown fruits and vegetables to those families, so they can sort of participate more in healthy eating.
Well, you are certainly working on a lot of wonderful things. What, out of the things that you've done so far, have you really been the most proud with?
Well, that's a great question. Thank you. And I get a little teary-eyed. You know, I happen to have been a county supervisor for that short period of time when people of the same gender could get married.
Right.
And I was able to perform the first gay marriages in the county building.
That's great.
And, you know, having worked on civil rights, human rights issues, you know, all of my life, trying to improve, you know, the lives of gays and lesbians, and to really be able to participate in all the joy and happiness that was occurring in the lives of these individuals when they got married, really meant quite a bit to me. And I look forward to the time that we can have same-sex marriages again in the state. Absolutely.
It seems as though it's going backwards a little bit with California's Proposition 8 and Maine with their recent election. What do you think the next steps are?
Just education. Those of us in the progressive community, when it's civil rights, women's rights, gay and lesbian rights, I think we have a tendency to believe that, well, maybe the fight might be over or things are improving, and the reality is that they're not.
Right.
The battles are not over on any of these fronts, and I think we all need to sort of redouble our energies to make sure that everybody in our society is treated equal. And you think of some of the terrible police actions that have been taken against minorities, particularly in the Asian community, and the misunderstanding of some of the cultural differences. I mean, the fight just sort of continues on. And so I sort of include all of that in that, and a lot of it. I mean, the misconceptions and the downright lies about gays and lesbians, or that somehow if two people of the same gender get married, that's going to hurt somebody else's marriage.
Right.
I mean, it's absurd.
Right.
It's absurd. But anyway, people still are believing it, and a lot of it just gays and lesbians need to come out. They need to talk about their lives honestly with people and their own family and at the workplace, so people understand that these are not some people from another planet. These are the people that are growing, the kids growing up next door, or kids in your own family, who, and as adults, understand their sexuality. So it's just a lot of education.
Oh, well, if people would like some more education, is there a good way for them to reach you about the county issues, and maybe if they even have some questions about San Jose City, which I'm sure you're still pretty plugged into what's going on there? Yeah,
I have a lot of these issues, particularly with the county and with the environment, or on my webpage, which is just Supervisor Yeager, all one word, supervisoryeager.org.
Okay.
They can always Google Santa Clara County and then click on to the elected officials icon at that point to reach me as well. The phone number is 408-299-5040, so they could call as well.
And, I'm really also impressed with the fact that you continue to be involved with the Democratic Party on the local level. You're also on the Democratic Central Committee. Yeah. And I look forward to seeing you at our next meeting.
Well, thanks for all the work that you've done for the party.
Thank you. And thank you for watching DTV. Give us a call at 408-445-9500 or visit our website at www.sccdp.org. Help us make a difference, and we'll see you on the campaign trail.